I'm Matt Jackson, working with Gym Club Solutions. Today we're going to be looking at video tutorials to teach drop upstart and then also a float upstart on P-bars. Okay, before we even get to the stage of teaching the drop upstart, we would expect the gymnast to be of a level to be able to hold a solid half lever position on the P-bars and also have the flexibility and understanding of how to hold a basket position underneath the P-bars. These two bits we'll need to be able to do safely before we can move on to learning the progressions for drop upstart. Okay, one of the first progressions we're going to look at for drop upstart is going to be on the end of the P-bars. We're going to use soft safety mats, making a barrier for the gymnast to start the drop back of the drop upstart. What we're going to be looking for is the key points is the gymnast's head position and holding that as they drop back into the safety mats to make sure that they're safe when we're doing that. What we don't want to see is the gymnast losing control of their head and dropping back and losing control and spinning out of control when they start their drop upstart. So we'll show the progressions and the differences between the two preps. Okay, so looking at the first progressions for drop upstart, we're going to use today a soft set of safety mats and a block to build up the height to level with the P-bars. Gymnast is going to start in a half lever position, start the drop phase of the drop upstart. We'll be looking for the gymnast to keep a good neutral head position so their chin is tucked into the chest as they start falling back into the drop upstart. We'll also look at what we shouldn't see, which would be the gymnast losing control of their head as they drop back into the drop upstart, getting them to lose the control of it and sometimes spinning off the P-bars. So this is a great stage to look at, the first stage of drop upstart, to make sure it's safe, their head position's in the right place, and we can start the skill safely. So the gymnast will start in a half lever, chin will drop into the chest, shoulders will move back, and we'll land in the basket position with the legs as close to the face as possible, showing that nice folded position underneath the P-bars. Okay, one of the most common things you're going to see when you're teaching a drop upstart, when the gymnasts initiate the dropping phase into the drop upstart, is their head position will lose and it will go back, causing the gymnast to be slightly open, but also sometimes lose control and do almost a back somersault between the P-bars. So we'll show this stage now. This is what we're trying to avoid. Okay, the next progression we're going to look at is getting the gymnast to be able to swing in the basket position underneath the bars. So we need to see that folded position that we should already have achieved before learning this. The gymnast is going to rock forwards and backwards with support first. We do this with support first to stop the gymnast in case they tuck their head back and start spinning underneath the bars. So we're just going to help the gymnast rock through this motion to understand holding the shape and trying to rise the hips above the bars at the front and the back of the swing. Okay, another exercise we can use to help with progressions for drop upstart on P-bars is for the coach to stand on top of the rails, helping the gymnast hold their feet, achieving the basket swing underneath the bars, and then trying to pull up towards a Russian lever, stopping the gymnast from kicking their feet out early and not achieving the skill properly. So I'm going to come on top of the rails for this exercise. Okay, so we're going to hold the gymnast's feet. Okay, so when we're holding underneath, then the gymnast is going to rock through the bottom, pulling up, rocking. Okay, another progression we can use for drop upstart on P-bars. Once we've gone through the rocking stage and the gymnast understands how to hold the shape and try and lift above the P-bars, we can then put a small mat or a crash mat on top of the P-bars to give the gymnast a barrier to think about holding their legs and lifting above that so they don't kick out early and drop their feet down. So we're going to start with the gymnast in a half lever with their feet on top of the pad. Then we're going to get the gymnast to rock through the basket position and then try and come back to a half lever position on top of the pad. Last one. Okay, so the next progression would be letting the gymnast try this prep on their own. A nice soft mat on top of the bars, so the gymnast can try the preparation, try and see if they can come above the pad and land in a half lever position without touching the surface. Okay, it's very common when teaching a drop-up start to make small mistakes and errors. This is how we learn. So when we let the gymnast try the skill, we'll show what is a common area with their head dropping, their feet dropping out of half lever, not being able to achieve the skill. This will then build up slowly as the gymnast gets stronger, and then they'll eventually achieve the skill to a half lever position. Okay, so we're now going to support the gymnast and we're going to try and get the gymnast to achieve going towards a Russian lever and then lowering their legs into a half lever. By doing this, we get the gymnast to really concentrate on holding their feet up and not kicking out and making those common errors that we saw in the previous shots. Again. Okay, when moving on to the final stages of teaching the drop-up start, there'll be two exit points that you can look at. So one drop-up start will finish in a half lever like we've just seen. Another one will come out with an extended opening position, keeping the gymnast chin open so they can go into a swing towards handstand. So we'll look at that stage now. Okay, final stages now is the gymnast trying the two stages on their own. So one will be a drop-up start to hold a half lever position, and the final one with an extended opening into a swing towards handstand. Okay, we're now going to look at preps for float up start on P-bars. We've looked at previous preps for drop up start on P-bars. We're now going to look at using the skills to join the two skills together. So we'll have a float up start as well as a drop up start. Okay, so looking at the first progressions for float up start, the first part of the float swing, we want to make sure the gymnast understands the direction of the swing and the right shape. This will help us then to stop the gymnast from making common mistakes of jumping too high at the back, lifting their hips too high, and then their feet hitting the floor or the mat underneath the P-bars. So we're going to make the gymnast rounded in their chest with their ears covered. When the gymnast starts to float swing, we want their hips to travel backwards, making a flat line so they're floating forwards and backwards and not lifting up and dropping down into the floor. So the gymnast is going to bend through the knees. Good. Again. Okay, so we're now going to look at the progressions for the float swing. So we're going to look at how the gymnast should move their hips backwards and then float forwards in a nice flat position without their feet hitting the floor. We'll then look at another stage with a common mistake of gymnasts jumping too high at the start of the float swing, causing them to push their feet down into the floor and stall the first part of the upstart. Okay, so we're now going to connect the float swing into the basket swing. So we're going to be floating out and then getting the gymnast to hit the basket swing position with their legs close to their face, so they're folded, so their shoulders can start to move above the set of P-bars when they're starting to press on the bars. Okay, so we're going to look at another progression now. So we're going to connect the float swing and the basket swing into an upstart position, but we're going to have the bars slightly slanted for this exercise. This is going to make the gymnast be able to get their shoulders above the P-bars a little bit easier with the slanted bars. Then after we've done this, we can then move on to leveling the bars out slowly so the upstart is done on the rails level. Okay, so when supporting the gymnast for the float upstart, what we're looking to do is support the gymnast around their lower back and on the bottom of their legs. When they do this, we can help them fold after the float swing and also help their shoulders rise above the P-bars. Okay, so once we've moved on from the float upstart with the bars on the slight slant to help the gymnast get their shoulders on top a little bit easier, we then move on to leveling the P-bars out so we join the full skill together. So then we'll have a float upstart and also a drop upstart joined together. So once this is done, the gymnast can then move on to doing the full skill on their own. Thanks for watching the video tutorials today for float upstart and drop upstart on P-bars. Please take them away and use them in your gyms.